His scene opens on a dense, humid forest floor. Massive ferns and strange new flowers dominate the undergrowth. The air is thick with the buzz of insects and the calls of unseen creatures. A colossal, three-toed foot slams down, shaking the frame. The camera pans up to reveal the scarred face of a full-grown Tyrannosaurus rex. It's completely still, its golden eye fixed on something in the distance. Its breath fogs in the humid air. You can feel the tension. This is an ancient world. For over 170 million years, an empire of giants ruled this planet, an age of titans, defined by tooth and claw, horn and armor. And here, 66 million years ago, at the very tail end of the Cretaceous period, that empire was at its absolute peak. This was a world teeming with life, maybe more diverse and more spectacular than almost any other time in our planet's history. This is the world as it was in the last glorious moments of the dinosaurs. A world ruled by the most magnificent, terrifying, and successful creatures to ever walk the earth. But their time was running out. They were living on borrowed time, totally unaware that their empire, their world, their very existence was about to be wiped out in a single, catastrophic day. This is the story of that final empire and the final moments of its reign. Asterisk, a world of giants, asterisk. So, to understand the last days of the dinosaurs, we have to go to their world. Forget the continents we know today. 66 million years ago, North America was a land divided, a vast, shallow sea. The western interior seaway split the continent in two, from the Arctic Ocean all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. This created two island continents, Appalachia in the east and a long, narrow landmass in the west called Laramidia. Laramidia was the heart of the last dinosaur empire. It was a land of extremes, a crucible of evolution. To the west, the brand new Rocky Mountains were rising, washing sediment and nutrients down into the lowlands. To the east, the warm waters of the seaway created a unique coastal world. We're heading to the southern part of this island continent, to a place we can still see preserved in time today. The Hell Creek Formation of Montana, Wyoming, and the Dakotas. This was no desolate, primordial wasteland. Imagine a climate like the Louisiana Bayou today, but even warmer. The average temperature hung around 16 to 20 degrees Celsius. That's 60 to 68 Fahrenheit, which created this humid, subtropical world. There was no ice at the poles. The entire planet was a greenhouse. The landscape was a patchwork of different environments. Broad coastal plains gave way to lush forests, cut through by meandering rivers and dotted with swamps and wetlands. Even the air was different, richer in oxygen and humming with the sound of insects and early birds. The plants were a mix of the ancient and the new. Towering conifers, cycads, and vast fern forests grew alongside a revolutionary new type of plant, angiosperms, or flowering plants. These new plants were changing the game. They created new food sources and complex habitats that had never existed before. This was the stage, a vibrant and deeply complex world. And on this stage, the final act of the dinosaurs' long story was about to play out, starring a cast of giants that were truly the pinnacle of their kind, the titans of the plain, the herbivores. breaks over the forested plains of Hell Creek. Mist hangs low over the rivers, and long shadows stretch from colossal trees. From the shelter of the forests, the titans of this world begin to stir. The first to emerge are the Edmontosaurus. People sometimes call them the cattle of the Cretaceous. But that nickname really doesn't do these magnificent animals justice. Reaching up to 12 meters, or 39 feet, in length and weighing over 5 tons. Edmontosaurus was a true giant. They were hadrosaurs, or duck-billed dinosaurs, named for their broad, flat beaks, perfect for snipping off huge amounts of plants. But behind that beak was their secret weapon, hundreds of teeth packed into grinding batteries, capable of pulverizing the toughest plant matter, from pine needles to coarse branches. We found fossilized skin impressions that show they were covered in scales, and some might have even had a fleshy comb on their head, kind of like a rooster's, probably for display. But their most defining feature was their social life. Edmontosaurus wasn't a solitary animal. They were social, moving in huge herds of hundreds, maybe even thousands of individuals. Fossil bone beds, containing the remains of countless animals, paint a picture of a creature that was social and migratory. These great herds would have constantly roamed the coastal plains, their movements literally shaping the landscape. They could move on all fours while grazing, but could rise up and run on their powerful hind legs to escape danger. And there was plenty of danger. Edmontosaurus was a primary food source for the apex predator of this world. The fossil evidence shows us a brutal reality. An Edmontosaurus vertebra with a T-Rex tooth embedded deep inside the bone. But here's the amazing part. The bone around the tooth healed. This animal survived. It got away. This tells us these so-called gentle giants weren't just passive victims. They were tough survivors in a dangerous world. As the Edmontosaurus herds move into the open, another giant makes its presence known. With a low bellow that rumbles through the forest, the Triceratops steps into the light. If Edmontosaurus was the prey, Triceratops was the defender. Weighing up to 12 tons, as much as a bull elephant and measuring 30 feet long. This was a walking fortress. Its name means three-horned face, and its weaponry was legendary. Two massive brow horns, over 1 meter long, pointed forward, while a shorter, thicker horn sat on its nose. Its most iconic feature, though, was the huge, solid bone frill flaring from the back of its skull. This frill likely served multiple purposes: as a defensive shield, a display to attract mates and intimidate rivals, and an anchor for powerful jaw muscles. And we now know these features changed dramatically as a Triceratops grew up. A hatchling had small, stubby horns that curved backwards in its teenage years before finally straightening out and pointing forward in adulthood, a sign of full maturity and combat readiness. Like Edmontosaurus, Triceratops was a herbivore, using its sharp beak to snip low-growing ferns and cycads, and also like Edmontosaurus. The evidence suggests they were social animals. While it is still debated, it seems likely Triceratops lived in groups, especially when they were young. These might have been family units or defensive herds that would form a protective circle. When threatened, horns facing out, a nearly impenetrable wall of bone and muscle. But there's another giant in this world, one that relied on a completely different strategy. It's solitary, silent, and carries its defense on its back. Moving slowly, but with immense purpose, is the Ankylosaurus. This creature was, for all intents and purposes, a living tank. Low to the ground, incredibly wide, and weighing up to 8 tons, Ankylosaurus was covered head to tail in thick, bony plates called osteoderms. This armor was so extensive it even covered its eyelids. Its body was a fortress of bone, nearly impervious to the bite of even the largest predators. But Ankylosaurus wasn't just a passive defense.